Hi, welcome back to another video in this learning C++ journey. So in the previous videos, we learned about the operator overloading. We practiced unary operator overloading with some example, as well as binary operator overloading with some examples. And last time in the last tutorial, we discussed the complex number class and we learned a lot of stuff in that as well. So this is going to be our last practice problem for this lesson, operator overloading, and this is entitled as distance class. What is the distance class? Basically what happens in distance, for example, if we have a distance and we are going to measure it in feet. So if I write 10.3, it means that I have 10 feet and 3 inches of distance. This is going to be the same behavior in our class as well, but we are going to achieve it in a different manner. We are not going to have a simple just one variable to represent this 10 and 3 like float. Instead, what we are going to do, we are going to have separate members for the feet and separate member for the inches. Okay, so this is going to be a very useful problem, especially for those students who studies in university. So because most of the time you are being asked such kind of problems, and there is a lot to learn for you guys as well. So stick around till the end of the video. Now let's start without wasting any more time. So the first thing that we are going to do, we are going to create a class by the name of distance in which, okay, so keep in mind that whenever you are writing the name of the class, it is a preferred approach there to have the first letter as a capital letter. Just in this case that I have distance class, so I have D capital. Okay, and this is just like a preferred rules for the naming rules for the class as well. If you are student and whenever you learn the Python language, you will be asked to do this stuff oftenly. Okay, so this is another thing that you learn today. Okay, so in this class, what we are going to have, you are going to have two members in private section. First one is going to be an integer type which will be named as feet. Okay, another one is going to be a float data type which is going to be named as inches. Okay, so these are two member variables and we will now have a public section. All right, so we have a public section as well as private section. In the private section we have two variables. So this part represents that integer part, and this part represents the decimal part. Okay, like 10 is represented by these feet and 0.3 is represented by these inches. Okay, got my point? Okay, all right, I'll remove this. Now what I am going to do, I am going to have constructor. So in the previous tutorials, in the previous example, we were used to have this syntax very oftenly. We use this syntax very oftenly, this one, and values. Okay, but not in this tutorial we are not going to follow that syntax. Instead we are going to try the second syntax that we learned in our classes lesson as well. So let's put that into practice. Okay, so this is the syntax for it, and what are we going to have? One constructor is going to be called for empty arguments, like whenever the object is declared with no parameters, this constructor would be called. So feet and 0, and after that we will have inches with a 0. So what does this mean? This means basically that feet and inches are initialized by value 0, and we will have a curl bracket. So I hope you guys have the idea of this syntax. If not, so you should watch the classes lesson as well. But I have this is just simple. This just work like this. For example, if I have a constructor like this with empty arguments and curl brackets, and I like to have feet is equals to 0 and inches is equals to 0. So these two syntaxes are basically the same. Okay, all right, I guess you guys got the idea now. Okay, this should be 0.0 because inches is float. Now distance, another constructor should be called whenever we pass some argument. Okay, so what are the argument going to be? The first one is going to be feet, so feet, and the second one is going to be float inches. Okay, now the same syntax, and what we are going to have, instead of those zeros we will write the respective parameters, okay, names. Now feet will be equals to feet, and inches will be yes, inches will be equals to inch. You can write the same name as these, like feet and inches as well. This will not have any issue. Okay, not issue at all. In that syntax, when you write these kind of things, the compiler is confused, and then you use the keyword this. Okay, so I guess you guys know those stuff as well here. Now let's talk about some functions. So first of all, what we are going to design, we are going to design a function that will rearrange the things for us. But before we do that, first of all, let's create a display function. So void display function. I guess you guys would be expert now to design these kind of functions like display, things like that. You should do this stuff by yourself, but I'm doing it again. Okay, so if you have any confusion, just clear it here. Okay, so see out, we will say that the distance, the total distance is equals to how many feet? Feet and inches. I'll write in. Okay, that's awesome. What I'm going to do, I'm going to have a test distance just to see how does our display function looks like. So distance 1, we will have distance 1 with some arguments like 3, and we will have 5.6. Okay, all right, and let's print out the this1 daughter display. All right, let's run this program, hope for the best, and we have the total distance 3 feet and 5.6 inches. That is awesome. All right, the next thing that we are going to do, we are going to design a rearrange function. So if you remember from our complex class or the time class, what we did, that we basically designed the display function such that it should display things in a manner that should be much more realistic. Okay, so for example, if someone writes the 12.6 inches, so 12 inches is basically equals to 1 feet, so it should display 4 feet and 0.6 inches. It should display like that. So for those purpose, we are going to design a rearrange function, which is going to be as follows. Now if I print this, it will be displaying that 3 feet and 12.6 inches. But after the design of that function, what we are going to achieve is that it will be displaying 4 feet and 0.6 inches. Okay, that would be more realistic. Okay, let's go and design that function. Okay, we will name this function as a void rearrange. Okay, not here but here. Okay, void rearrange means that we are going to rearrange the every single thing in the respected object in which we are working. So what we are going to do, first of all, we will write a while loop. In while loop, we will write it as while inches is greater than or equals to 12. That means if the inches are greater than or equals to 12, for example 12.6, 15.6 or 35.6, whatever it is, the loop will be continued. So that is correct concept. And then what we are going to do, we are going to write inches, update inches by inches minus 12. So this is equals to inches inches minus 12. And then what we are going to do, we are going to increment feet plus plus. So the number of times this function, this loop is called again and again, that would be the incremented value in the feet amount. Okay, so now let's call this function for the object. So what we are going to do, we are going to say this, and we will call a rearrange. So what will happen, that it will recall this function for the object. It is going to print the result. So you guys already know this function, but still, if you don't know, the meaning of this statement is basically that call this function for the object you are going to print this. In this case, we are going to print this one. Let's print this. Now, as you guys can see, it is printing 4 feet and 0.6 inches. So just for the confirmation, I will be increasing the value. Instead of 12, I will write 78.45. Okay, let's see what happens. Now, as you guys can see, it has incremented. It is saying that 9 feet and 6.45 inches. So I guess, yes, it is going to be correct. Okay, so 6 inches have been added. So 6 times 12 is basically equals to what? 6 times 12. 6 times 12 is what? 72. And 72 have been converted into 6 inches. So that means we are going to get 9 feet. Sorry, not inches, but feet, 9 feet. And the remaining 6.45 will be treated as inches. So yeah, our display function is correct. So you guys will be wondering that why I do all these practice problems. Look, the practice problems are not just specified to the concept practice, like operator overloading concept. So in the previous practice problems or projects that we have done, we learned about different syntax, we learned about different logical thinking techniques, different pattern techniques, different printing techniques, like these kind of things you will not learn in the operator overloading concept. How to design a display function, how should the display function work, how these things work, you will learn whenever you perform some practice problem. This is the point of a practice problem that I always do, that you guys should learn the real-time scenarios as well, that how you should implement your key concept like operator overloading as well as combined with the other concepts as well. Okay, let's go. One more thing that I'm going to add in today's program that I haven't done previously, I'm going to import a library which is include IO manipulation library. Now what I am going to do with this library, this is going to be an awesome thing. For example, if I have a large number of floating point, like if I have a floating point like 0.876543, this is 2, and it should not look, the up to 4 decimal places is the quite right thing to do. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'll write set precision with a n as my number of decimal places, so I will write 4. All right, so we have got 4. Now what is going to happen, that whenever I get the output, I will get it will not exceed the limit of 4 decimal places. Okay, we will see in the addition operator overloading, so you will get the idea what I mean to say. Okay, but for now let's design the operator overloading. So in today's lecture you are going to learn about these operator overloading that we haven't done. One is going to be this operator overloading, that is plus equals to, you guys are familiar, whenever we want to shorthand the concept of additions of into the same quantity, we write this kind of thing. Okay, or minus equals to subtracting from the same quantity some other quantity. And another thing that I am going to do that we haven't overloaded, that is the greater than or less than or greater than or equals to. We are going to do one of it, so this is going to be greater than. Other than that is going to be your homework. What are you going to implement? That is going to be minus equals to, as well as the greater or equals to, less than or equals to is going to be your homework for operator overloading of this video. Okay, first thing first, let's write the void. First of all, we are going to implement this, and I'm going to write the void, and we will write the operator keyword just like the other concepts, and we will write the operator. Now, I will tell you in a bit why I am writing void instead of returning anything. Okay, so I'll write constant, not constant. The reason for it, I'll tell you. Just be patient. Step by step. Okay. The first thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to rearrange each and everything. Rearrange, by rearranging, I mean to say that if I received something like greater than 12 inches or something like that, I should make it more realistic. So for that purpose, I have already designed my function. So I'll call this and I will rearrange the data of my distance 1. Okay, so the receiving parameter, first parameter has been rearranged. Now what I am going to do, I am going to rearrange this distance as well. So I will write temp, sorry, not distance, but rearrange. Okay. Why I am not using constant keyword? Because as you guys remember, I told you if you use the keyword constant, like constant, you cannot change the anything, any value in that variable. So if I used constant, I would not be able to use this temp rearrange. Okay, so because with the help of rearrange, we are actually altering the data. So the constant would prevent that from happening. One more thing that I'm not using reference. The reason for that is that I want to change data of the distance 2. So for that purpose, I'm not using reference because I might need the old data. So I should not be passing the reference because the reference will change the original data. Okay, all right. So this is clear. Now, another thing that we are going to do, that is going to be simple. We will write feet plus equals to temp dot feet, and we will write inches plus equals to temp dot inches. Okay, so all right, this is the total operator overloading. And one more thing, why I am not using any return data type. For the reason behind it is that the thing is going to be working a bit differently. For example, in the previous tutorials, what we studied, that we were like variable 1 is equals to variable 1 plus variable 2. So we were using an equality sign, due to which that some value was going to be assigned to this variable 1. All right, so there was need of returning data type. Now if I am doing variable 1 plus equals to variable 2, so what's going to happen whenever the variable whenever these operators are encountered after the variable 1, the function would be called, which is the operator overloading function, and then the second parameter would be passed as the copy here in this operator overloading, and it will be added into the object itself. So these quantities are the object for the respective object. For example, distance 1. So these are the quantities of distance 1. So the quantities of distance 1s are already updated with these line of code, like temp.feet are added and temp.inches are added as inches. So what is going to happen, that there will be no need to return anything, as the distance 1 is automatically going to be updated. Let's have a look what I mean to say. Let's say distance and distance 2. Okay, and I'll have a 6 instead of something 3, and I'll write 12.3, and above we will write a bit lower values, just to be like easy for calculation. And then I would do this that I'll write this 1 plus equals to this 2. All right, let's call this function and let's see what is the result. Okay, we have some error. Has non-pointer type. Okay, temp is a non-pointer. That is a very good error. Okay, now I'll be good to go. Okay, so we have got the total distance is 11 feet and 11.75 inches. Let's calculate it manually. We have got 3 plus 6, which is equals to 9, and then 12 plus 12, that is going to be 11, and the remaining 11.45 and 3. Okay, that is totally correct. Everything is awesome. And I should remove this. Let's say I should remove this cut, and let's run the program again. Okay, I will have something like a larger quantities. So I'll show you the purpose of the set precision. So for that purpose, I am gonna need some larger values like 2, 3, 3, and 4, 5. Let's see. Yes, it is like this. So it is not an issue, but still you may need it in future whenever you are dealing with yes, you guys can see that our total number is 11.68 instead of that. You guys saw that. Just let's remove this again, and I'll print the data. without set precision, as you guys can see, we are getting 11.683. So in case of measurements, you will be oftenly seeing 11.683. You will be oftenly seeing that 11.68, so like 2 points after the decimal point. So for that purpose, what I'm going to do, what I'm going to write that set precision equals to 4. So the length of the number maximum is going to be 4. So let's print the result now. So as you guys can see, I am getting only 11.68. So this is going to be maximum. So if I write 5, then I'll get a 683. As you guys can see, I'm getting 11.683. So this n represent the total length of your float number. Okay, so I guess you guys got the idea of set precision as well as plus equals to operator overloading. Now what we are going to design is the greater than operator overloading. Like when we have integer values like integer a and b, and a has some value and b have some value, and we write it as if a is greater than b. So what happens during this, that the compiler returns two types of value. Either it is true or it is false, which means either it is 1 or 0 respectively. So this is going to be the same concept for our operator overloading for greater than sign. So let's design the function for greater than operator overloading. So here what we are going to do, the syntax will remain the same, but the return type will be different, which is going to be bool in this case. And the reason is that for a relational operator, when we are relating two quantities, it is returning true false results. For that purpose, we are returning bool data type. Okay. Now we will write operator keyword. After that, we will write the greater than sign, and we will receive distance class. Okay, so distance temp. All right. Now the next thing that we are going to do is that first of all, we should rearrange each and everything. So all the calculations should be performed. Okay, so for that purpose, we will call the temp rearrange as well as this rearrange. So this will be called for the object itself, means like distance 1, and the temp will be called for the distance 2. Okay, now temp dot rearrange will be called for the distance 2. So with the help of this, as we already know that the inches will be converted in terms of feet if they are greater than 12. Now what we are going to do, we are going to have two variables like total 1. I will write total 1. Okay, and float total 2. Now we have two variables like total 1 and total 2. Now what is the purpose of total 1 and total 2 variable? We are going to write the whole number. Whole means like I have distance like 7 feet and 7.3 inches. Now basically 7 feet is a separate integer and 7.3 is a separate value. So what I am going to do, I am going to write a code that will make this whole value as a feet, and we will have 1 feet in we will have a value in terms of feet. Okay, so let's go and have a look. So I'll write total 1 is equals to I'll write is equals to feet plus, and I'll write inches, and inches will be divided by 12. The reason for division by 12 is that whenever you want to convert inches from inches to feet, so you have to divide the inches by 12, and whenever you have to convert feet into inches, you have to multiply by 12. So this is some basic mathematics you guys should know. It is just it is taught in a basic level physics. Okay, so conversion in unit conversions. Okay, now we will write the same line of code for our temp dot feet plus inches, not just inches, but temp dot inches divided by 12. I'll show you guys with the help of an online calculator as well that how our values are calculated, but for now just return, and we will return total 1 is greater than total 2, a boolean data type. Okay, so what will happen that if the total 1 is greater than total 2, due to boolean it will return true, which means 1, and if the total 1 is less than total 2, it will return false, which will be going to be a 0 value. Now let's call this here, over here, and I'll print out cout this 1 is greater than this 2. Now what is distance 1? Distance 1, as you guys can see, it is like 3 and 23.45 inches. Now let's have a look. So if I write 23.45 here in calculator, it converts into 1.95 feet. Okay, so this means that instead of 3.323, it will be like 4.95 inches. Okay, the actual value is this. Then this one will be converted into 7.23. Okay, so now let's have a look. Let's run this code. As you guys can see that we are getting 0. Why 0? Because distance 1 is lower than distance 2. Now if I pass distance 2 as first argument and distance 1 as second argument, what will happen? We will have 1 value, because distance 2 is greater than distance 1. So this is how you can overload a greater than sign, and this was a little concept of unit conversion as well. I'll tell you guys what I am doing actually here, that we had the quantities. You will be asking that what is the purpose of rearranging? The rearrange is basically used to arrange the data in such order that we have feet separately and we have inches separately. But if the inches are greater than 12, it should convert it into feet, and the inches will still remain the separate entity. But what's happening over here in this total variable, that we are writing inches and feet combined. So you can never add two quantities as the same quantity. For example, if someone tells you add 1 kilometer into 1 meter, it is not possible. You have to convert kilometer into meter, or you have to convert meter into kilometer. Then you can add both quantities. So for addition of two quantities, they must have same unit. Okay, so if they are kilometers, so both should be in kilometers, and if you are dealing in meters, both should be in meters. So in this case, what we are doing over here, we are converting inches into feet. These are rearranging it into separate feet and inches with the right amount of values, and here we are writing the inches in the unit of feet as well. So this is the difference between these two things. Okay, so I hope you guys have learned the syntax, you have learned the implementation, and you have learned the concepts as well. So this was it for our lesson 9, operator overloading. We did some good examples, practice problems as well. Now we are going to move towards the in the next video to the next pillar of OOP, that is inheritance. So I will meet you guys in the next video. And if you want to take screenshot of this code, you can take it and implement it by yourself. Plus, if you want to add two distances like distance 1 plus distance 2, you guys already know. We have discussed it in complex number class as well as previously. So you should be able to do that. You can practice it with yourself. I hope you guys have learned something, and I'll meet you guys in the next video. Bye.